Back in 1999, they released 3 Air Jordan 14 low tops, one of which was the Gingers that have now re-released as a mid top, one of which was the Laneys that are also now in a mid top.
What's the third one?
The third one's actually the Carolina Blues, the UNCs. Funny enough though, in 99, they turned those into a mid top. So will we ever get them? I don't know. Hey, what's good guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on these bad boys right here. This is the Air Jordan 14 in the Laney colorway. This is actually a colorway that debuted as a low top, like I was saying earlier, back in 1999, along with 2 others, the Ginger as well as the UNCs. Now, back in 1999, they actually converted those UNC low tops into a mid top, which was more traditional, at least as far as the regular season was concerned. However, that release was an East Bay exclusive, so they weren't available at a lot of stores or anything, and by a lot I mean none. East Bay actually only has, well, now they're out of business, RIP to East Bay, but back in the day they've only had 1 store ever, and it was actually across the street from their warehouse or their headquarters. It was connected to their headquarters. I've been there. It was awesome while it lasted. But yeah, so I don't know if we're ever gonna get the UNC return properly, whether it be mid or low top. Preferably, in my case anyways, I would like to see both. Mostly because that's my favorite colorway of that damn shoe, man. I just really love them. Anyways, these guys right here are back once again. They did retro as a low top, so kind of true to original form. Obviously the shape and certain aspects of the shoe weren't exactly true to original form, but they were as close as possible. Fast forward to today. We actually did a review on those, by the way, so if you wanted to go check that out and look at a younger me doing almost the same thing, but just not as good, go for it. But anyways, these are supposed to be obviously the Laney High School colorway. Laney High School is where MJ played as a young kid. The whole story, most people already know this, but in case you don't, he was cut from his varsity team. They always have made it sound like he was just straight cut from the basketball team, like he wasn't on JV afterwards, but he was. He was just cut from the varsity team. I think it was as a freshman, if I'm remembering correctly. That could be a little hazy, but obviously he ended up being just fine, so no need to worry about it or anything. You know, he's only one of the greatest players of all time. Well, to me, duh, but to some, it's debatable. Anyways, the outsole on the Air Jordan 14 is a really awesome one, I think. I personally just love the way that this looks. It's very streamlined, very traditional as far as like the actual traction pattern goes. It's herringbone. It works really well on or off court, indoors or outdoors. This shoe is amazing on court, by the way. It's one of my favorites. We actually have a video, and it's basically the best Air Jordans to play in as far as the later models go. If you're gonna ask me like what the best early models between 1 through what, the Air Jordan 9, believe it or not, it's the Air Jordan 2. The Jordan 7's also underrated. But anyways, the outsole is just gorgeous. The whole shoe was designed after a Ferrari, MJ's Ferrari on top of that. And so this is supposed to mimic the tread patterns and everything, which I love that it goes all the way up to the rear of the shoe, where you have that tire tread that goes all the way. It's fucking awesome. Like, it's so beautiful. This is design like you've never seen before, especially if you're new into the sneaker game, because this is not flat. This has depth, there's layers, there's all kinds of stuff. There's clear inspiration pointing to specific things. It's not just a knitted one-piece sock.
It's like an onion.
There's layers.
You know, not everybody like onions.
Now, much like the original, we've got the pivot point right there. This actually says XIV, obviously for the Air Jordan 14. That was a really hot topic back in 1999 when they originally released. Not in this particular colorway, obviously. These didn't release till the summer. But the original colorways, which were, you know, Chicago-based, it was a big problem, especially where we're from. We're from San Jose, so you can do the math. You can go Google some articles and shit. But moving on up, we got a lightweight Phylon midsole. Inside of this shoe, like if you were to take the layers apart, it's a really fascinating look at something, because these and the Air Jordan 13s, they're very low profile, like sitting to the floor. It would surprise you like how low a lot of these shoes actually are, despite how thick and chunky they look. The Air Jordan 12 is actually a good example of that as well, where most of the height is actually from the rubber, the outsole, and not from the midsole itself. But the Air Jordan 13 and 14 both ride incredibly low. They were both Zoom Air based shoes, both heel and forefoot, which is what's inside of this. So inside here, it quite literally looks just like this. You have the same exact Zoom Air units in the heel and in the forefoot, but that is not what was in the original, believe it or not. The original actually featured a forefoot articulated Zoom unit, and the articulated Zoom units from the 90s were f***ing amazing. It was a 4-chambered large volume unit on top of that, so that was primarily what your forefoot was resting on. Should I tell a fun story? let's go. Should I say buckle up?
Buttercup.
But no, it was a pun. The Ferrari, you know, buckle up, let's go. Dad joke. Back in 1999, I was a freshman / sophomore. I can't remember which one. I'm pretty sure I was like teetering on, you know, the edge of one or whatever. And back then I would go to open gym nights all the time, Fridays and Saturdays. And I would go there with all of my friends. One of my friends' name was Jason, and his dad would always get him the latest Air Jordan model. This was one of them. So he actually got the original black toe version of this shoe. It was the first launch colorway. We actually just saw those in, I don't know if it's going to be our previous video. I don't know what order everything is going to be in, but we featured them in How to Ruin a Classic 101. But anyways, he was wearing those to open gym one night, and I was wearing a beat up pair of, I can't remember if it was my Jumpman Pros or if it was my Pro Quicks, but either way, it was a beat up pair of either of them. And he was, I guess, not into playing that night or something like that, because we sat down on the bench just for a quick water break and everything. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to play anymore. Did you want to try these out? And I was like, what? You want me to wear your shoes on court like I can actually hoop in them? And he was just like, yeah. They were too big for me too. I wear a 9, he was like a 10 or a 10.5. I laced them so tight that they cut the out of my ankles and everything, but it didn't matter. I didn't miss. I never really play one-on-one because I'm not a one-on-one type of guy. I like to use the other pieces around me to benefit me, you know, but I was whooping ass. And this guy tried to beat me 3 times and he just didn't. I was not missing at all, and I think it was the shoes. At least that's what I want to believe. Anyways, as far as the upper is concerned, it's very similar to what we saw on the Ginger release. So if you have those or you like those, then you're probably going to like these too. The most notable change though is the toe cap. That particular shoe had a synthetic leather. This one instead has synthetic suede or synthetic nubuck. It's just like felt feeling. So one of the two. I think that it was supposed to mimic suede, but it's not very hairy, so it doesn't look like suede. It looks like shortcut nubuck. What actually is nubuck though is the blue side panels. That is genuine leather. It's just not a lot of leather. Like it's that particle board. You know, it is what it is. The blue coating on it though looks and feels good. It's almost got like a rubbery feel to it. So again, if you like the previous retros, then you will probably like these. Although I'm not sure how many people are actually buying these to play in them nowadays. So I mean, if you're just wearing them casually, does it really matter? If you're a stickler for quality, I believe it does. Just saying. Oh, by the way, this is what's in here. Very close to what was in the original. I do have an original pair still. It's the black and indiglows. Those are beautiful, by the way. I don't have them with me right here, so I can't show you the original insole. This is not an identical insole. This is a little bit thinner, obviously a little bit cheaper, but the original insole did have the same kind of setup where you had the additional EVA or foam pads for additional cushion. Now going up the tongue, we still have that synthetic nubuck or suede that, you know, you can see featured on the toe and everything. At the top though, you have this little bar, and it basically says Jordan with XIV behind it. Some of these things have been very, very stiff and firm. This one's a little gummier, so you can actually bend it.
I swear the ones that I had went
hard
through
as-
like a little sleeve.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them, they're a little different. I don't think that the original Laney's had. I think it was just this. If I'm remembering correctly, I could definitely be wrong, because I'm pretty sure I was wrong with my Jumpman Pro thing with the heel thing. If you watch that video, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, then I would go check it out, support the channel, that'd be awesome. Thank you in advance. But I can't remember what they were called. I think they were called like oxidized green. I think that one had like an oxidized green bar with no sleeve over it. I'm pretty sure.
I just remember the sides that poked out were pink, and so
Yeah.
I'm seeing like a black sleeve that rolls around.
Well, some of them I remember them scratching my shins.
Those look nice though.
Oh, they look so good. They look awesome.
I was talking about the bar.
I'm talking about the whole package, baby. The whole package is awesome.
Alrighty then.
And on top of that, this was the third shoe within the Air Jordan line to feature the asymmetrical collar. I believe the first one was actually the Air Jordan 5, then they did it again on the Air Jordan 13, and then again on the Air Jordan 14. Jordan was actually well known for wearing mids. He preferred them, and then he would also switch into low tops every so often, especially during the playoffs. So having a shoe like this where it was low on one side but a mid on the other, it was pretty much his personal preference as far as like what he preferred to play in. Obviously, you got the Ferrari emblem logo right there on the side of the shoe. I think it looks just as good as it ever has. It's one of the best logos that they've done. Like, they've done multiple different variations of the Jumpman with the circle, with the flight font, and all these other things, but this one right here, something about it, every time I see it, it's just...
You win. Perfect.
Last but not least, you cannot forget the good old air scoop. This thing is awesome. Does it like actually provide a ton of ventilation? No, but it's really cool nonetheless. As a kid, I love this thing. One of the good things about it though is that they finally reshaped the insoles, which they've done with the past number of retros of the Air Jordan 14. But when you slide this in there, this little arch piece right here no longer blocks the actual, you know, vent and everything. So it's actually more functional now than it ever has been. A couple of other design features that kind of play into the Ferrari theme are the little little tail lights back there, obviously done up in yellow, so I dig that too. Do you know the fun fact that I'll reiterate? It's a little bit different nowadays, but back in the day, fun fact about the Air Jordan 14 was?
Can you give me a clue at what you're pointing to? The emblem?
The logo specifically.
The circle around it meant that it was its own brand.
No.
A sporting brand. An official athletic gear brand within the brand.
She's not wrong. The Jumpman in the circle was supposed to signify whether or not the shoe was a performance shoe or the apparel was a performance apparel. They ditched that really quickly though after, you know, certain lines and stuff, but it did carry over to some, like the Air Jordan 13, 14. It was on the Pro Quicks, not on the Pro Strongs. And then from there on out, they really just kind of tied the team shoes to the game shoe. So like the Pro Quick 2s, the Eddie Jones 2s, I'm farting on their name. They were called like the Quick 6 or something like that, but those all had the Ferrari emblem, but that's not what I was talking about. I was really talking about just the Jordan logo. And between the two pairs,
there are 14 Jordans all over them.
So you did know. She reached for something else. She just missed this on the shelf. But yeah, so basically you've got one there, or I should say two. So there's two right there. There's two on the toe. There are two on the sides, two on the back, one on each insole, so two there. And then last but not least, the little metal aglets. They each have a Jumpman etched into them, all totaling up to 14, but
they messed it up.
They messed it up with these new tags because now those have little Jumpmans on them too, so there's two more added onto them. But back in the day, that was the fun fact.
Wow.
Now, as far as sizing is concerned, they do fit true to size. Whatever you typically wear, that's exactly what I would go with. Just keep in mind that the mid-top versions, this little, like, the way that this is shaped, it is uncomfortable.
It's an adjustment period.
Yes, this is a shoe that you gotta break in. It just is. It's unfortunate because they look so sexy and sleek, but that whole shape of the back really needs to be worked in. Please tell me that's not a joke. Like, it's just, I could say that, right?
Sure.
You guys got some dirty-ass minds. But anyways, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. Let us know what you think about the Laney mid-top Air Jordan 14. Do you prefer the lows? Do you prefer the highs? Are you like me and you're just patiently impatient and waiting for Jordan Brand to release the UNC version of the shoe, whichever one that they choose? I will take them all. Sound off below, let us know. Thank you once again for being here. We'll catch you guys on the next one. So until then, have a good one.